A lot of people don't realize this, but the media doesn't declare the winner of an election. They project it. And Fox and CNN, kind of projected that Biden would win. But I think, what was it, yesterday or today, Real Clear Politics came out and rescinded Pennsylvania. Arizona now seems to be getting more tight. Do you think that was irresponsible of all of them to make those projections so early?
Irresponsible doesn't begin to cover it. It feels like there was a decision about what the result of the election needed to be, and whether, irrespective of what happened with the ballots and the counting, that the narrative about what had happened was going to be deployed and at full force. And, it's not the first major challenge to democracy, which I think is confusing to people. There are lots of corruptions of our democracy, most of them perfectly legal. And so we've just kind of gotten used to that challenge. But in this case, yes, it was uncanny how consistent the message was, and that it has the power to shape history, I think, is quite clear. So, I couldn't be more concerned about it.
Yeah, the thing that terrifies me is that you have media, major media outlets declaring Biden the winner when it's actually closer than that. To be fair, he's probably going to be the winner from everything that I've seen, but it's not 100%, and there is some legal battles going on. And again, Pennsylvania might not have gone to Biden. Arizona's getting a little closer. My fear is that it'll come out that wasn't the right decision, and boy, will that fuel some of the extreme left violence that we saw during the Floyd riots and the Antifa and all that stuff. That could be very, very dangerous, and then maybe embolden the extreme right, like you said earlier.
Yes, I see that hazard very clearly. Frankly, now that we have seen the election declared by media outlets, we've seen evidence, both not very compelling and somewhat compelling, of fraud emerge. We are on a collision course with disaster, and I hope people will look into themselves and find patriotism and recognize that actually this is the moment that we all look each other in the eye and we say, it is vitally important that we behave very carefully now and with all eyes on the idea of preserving the republic for future generations, because we could lose it.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that when something like a republic or democracy is destroyed, what usually emerges from the ashes is very tyrannical, very dangerous, very oppressive to people. It's never something better. It's usually something, much, much worse. So I hope people realize that.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been trying to convince people of is that even those of us who regard our system as quite unfair, and I do regard it as quite unfair, even people who believe that need to recognize that it is a very vibrant, productive system, and that the well-being that is so unfairly distributed still puts most people ahead. Even if you're on the losing end of that unfairness, this is a very free society, and there is a great deal of opportunity in it. And if you think you're going to be better off after the nation fails, you got another thing coming. And frankly, if you haven't traveled, talk to people who have, because they've probably seen what we might end up replacing this with, and it's not a step in the right direction.
No, the nothing's ever perfect, and we definitely haven't been perfect historically, and we're not perfect today. But the very things that are starting to be attacked now, free speech and elections and discourse and debate, those are the things that have always allowed us to progress. It's what gives us the ability to beat ourselves up amongst each other, not literally but figuratively, and grow. It's what got segregation to end. It's what gave women the right to vote. It's what's moved us forward. And that's the vehicle that causes real progress. We're not perfect, but if we eliminate that vehicle, where do we go? Where do we go from here?
Well, yeah, not perfect, but a slam dunk as far as the prototype goes. And the progress that we've made since the prototype was set in motion has been spectacular. Now, like others on the left, I'm frustrated that progress seems to have stalled in recent decades. But overall, we cannot be disappointed with how much we've accomplished. And this is a generational problem. I think if you're below a certain age, you may not realize how much progress was made because you may have lived in an era of relative stagnation. But wow, was that era of relative stagnation stacked on something impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very, very interesting times, very tumultuous. What you talk about, I echo. I say, debate, argue. That's the good part. Don't silence, don't fight, and definitely don't destroy the system that's given us the ability to do all of those things. There was a couple scenarios that I read. I don't know how accurate these are. Maybe you can help correct me, but if this does indeed get proven to be a largely fraudulent, situation with this election, either they would organize a revote or recount, which could be disastrous, or is it true that it could go to Congress for a vote, that then Congress could decide who becomes president?
Yep. There are several different scenarios that could unfold. One of the more likely ones involves neither Biden or Trump getting sufficient electoral college votes, which would send it to Congress. And, thankfully, we have a system in which the fail-safes are several deep, so that even in the event that something unprecedented unfolds here, there is some guidance on what to do. But the problem is it's also unfolding in a novel environment that the founders had no idea would exist. So the narrative shaping that's going on online and in the media potentially affects the way we understand our process writing itself.